So Pakistan at the I'll teach you, show you. This is my soldering iron. Last 2 months I made a project how to make as well as what is showing alarm clock part 1, and I am after the finish the video I will solder some points that I turn on my soldering iron. It goes banned, and I open this and realize inside filament is burned, which I right now I lost it. There's basically a metal rod with putting a mitre paper sheet in, and then wind the nitro wire, which is a 0.01 millimeter diameter wire, 1000 turns winds, which has a 18 element, which draws these two leads and which can eat up and which transfer the heat in this unit, and this will solder. But now this wire element is blow out, so it is not repairable. So I am thinking why not to replace an element. So element is same cost than soldering iron, so it is a very cheap soldering iron. So you can buy new soldering iron instead repair this. But I am thinking why not try with experiment with this soldering iron and try to repair. But this is plan is that this is a hair dryer which you can might be seen in my 7 month. Although I upload a video which I open universal hair dryer and reclose. This is a same hair dryer. Right now it is designed on my table for about 7 months. It is not used. I need to salvage elements to these, and these are each link which is fireproof, fiberglass, heat resistive each inch. So what I tend to do, I remove this nitro wire or 18 element to this air dryer and insert this tube or each inch, and then wind this each inch around my soldering iron all over to there, and then to AC main leads and plug in with series, and then that plug in and check these elements can work with this soldering iron. But there is one thing, this hair dryer is a 1200 watt hair dryer, meaning, and this soldering is 40 watt. So it is 18 times more double power consumed. This air dryer heat up more 18 times more higher than the soldering iron. So soldering iron is minimum 25 watt to maximum 120 watt. Soldering iron is available in the market, which is used to in the electronic purposes. But you cannot, and it cannot available any soldering iron which is 1200 watt or 1.2 kilowatt power. So that's why it is not good idea, because this time this soldering iron might be fry myself all the circuit boards which I try to solder these, because this is 1200 watt this time the element. So it is also consume too much power, and it is not good idea. But just for experimenting purposes I try this. I not meant to do this. Now what I tend to do, first take a scissor and slam the motor connections wire inside, which is a motor wire, because motor are connected. This resistor wire acts like a voltage divider, so it divides the main voltage, also heat up and divide the main voltage into some voltage which is used like a 12 to 13 volt AC, which is rectifier, which is a middle in there which drives the motor, and there is a thermal fuse and extra safety there. Right now this air dryer, but in my version I did not have any kind of safety, so that's why it is very hard, dangerous thing. But I still try, but I not recommending to try this out. These are fans, the 2 inductor coils for noise filtering, and 2 PF busters and 4 diodes for rectification, and now element inside. So now what I tend to do, there's inside a thermal fuse there. First I see this circuit connection diagram. This blue wire goes to this diode which is connected there, the coil. Now what I tend to do, I drop the wire over here. and take this unit side. First I test these units which is pin out black. Just I see the diagram, black is connected to the brown wire which is the negative one, neutral wire, and these wires for selecting these 5 wires selecting the temperature or this is my bit control these two black. These wires control our voltage control, and there are 4 wires which is a temperature control maybe, and there is a thermometer. Now check all the wires connections. Starting from there. Now I take a scissor with the all wires. First I check wires connections. All these connections are aligned them. Then I need some sort of load which work both opposite polarity. So that's why I use this motor instead of bright LED lamp, and it works both sides. So there is no positive negative fits. So I connect one wire there, which is goes to anyone there, and then touch the other wire one by one in these. Check the switch status. That is off, and orange will getting the voltage out, and blue no, brown. And if I put the switch bottom middle world, not the bottom, only middle right there, and now orange this time, nothing, red nothing, brown nothing, and blue turn on. If screwdriver, and this is a voltage set nut. It is line of 220 volt mode. If I select 120 volt mode, now this main switch is at about middle. Now test it. Try orange, nothing, blue, nothing, brown, it's worked. Now if I set a red, still nothing. If put the switch upwards, this time red, yes, brown, nothing, orange, nothing, and blue, nothing. So what it is? So there are basically two-way switch. There is a two-way switch and there is a DP/DT switch. First, when you put the switch in one side, you do the 120 volt range, and when you put the switch other side, it's the 220 volt range. Both range they are connected to DP/DT switch. One side switch is containing and other side containing red and brown wire, and first side contains orange and blue wire. So first, in the 120 volt mode, the DP/DT switch one portion is active. First portion is active, like these 3 pin is active. Common pin is connected to the, when you turn on this switch, set a 220 volt, this switch first side common pin is connected to the live, and this step, if you put a switch bottom live, and if you put upward that wire stem live, and if you then this time this phase wire, which is this phase wire, is connected to black wire, which connect other side of DP/DT common terminal, other side, which you then, if also bit switch push downside, it will connect this common pin to the normally closed point, which is blue wire, and if you put a switch up, it connect this orange wire, which is a normally open terminal. So first, if you set the voltage 120 volt, there are tile this type chrome wire, which is one end is common, which is directly goes to a neutral, one end is neutral. And if you, let's see, if you turn on 120 volt with I speed. You can push this switch into a down, which means brown is active, which brown is connected are 24 turns. Between black to the brown is first tap, means 24 turn is on at 120 volt and maximum temperature high speed. If you put this switch in up position, it will give a phase into a red wire, which is connecting somewhere here, meaning there to here there are 48 turns. 48 turns, that's time its turn flow 48 turns will consume power little bit drop due to these are resistive wire. That's why ET elements number of turn increasing and temperature is decreasing and the air dryer comes slow. Now if you put this thing into the 220 range, it will give orange wire in maximum speed and minimum speed in the blue wire. So orange wire is connected somewhere here. So there are 96 turns will getting the power, even 4 turn is off, 4 and 5 turn is off. That's why it turn on with high temperature at 220 volt. Only 4 is turned off, and then in the last this blue wire to the main end, which means it's turned on total all the under turns and voltage divided by each turn. That's why it's low, less warm up with 220 volt and minimum speed. Not plain paper and noodles those film 18 element one terminal phase those one selecting switch 120 and 240 volt 120 those and other switch which is two-way switches one if push switch downwards the first 24 volt turn is turn on, and if you put a certain way it will turn on 48 turns, and 120 turns it full eat up with 120 volt and 48 turn it will medium speed turn on medium range in 120 volt, and if you set 220 volt then face those this switch setting point, which if you push at bottom side the third with 220 volt with maximum high speed, and if you turn on all the other turns then you can turn on this switch to top position which and also set 220 volt, then turn on all the tiles, all the 4 tiles at same time in the 4 tiles at same time. Voltage will divide the 4 tiles. It will also work at 220 volt, also work with a medium temperature. Extra voltage drop with this diode. Now this is a coil. I use a fixed voltage range. So in Pakistan there are 220 volt or 240 volt is working. So I cannot use 120 volt. So I can remove this brown wire as well as this red wire. I use black wire, orange wire or this blue wire. Brown and red is removed. So if I black was common, it is high temperature, and if I want low temperature then medium speed, then I use a blue. But in my case I am try to fix this ratio, so I can only be use a black or orange, black or with plus with orange, because I will turn on this soldering iron at fixed speed, at fixed voltage, meaning 240 volt fixed voltage and maximum speed. So I can touch the element between the orange point and black point and unwrap in this unit and wind past each leaf and then wind into my soldering iron and then do it. But this time there is a fuse here, anti-C thermal fuse, which is one end is connected ground, I mean neutral, and other end is those white wire, which is this white wire, and those two are somewhere this selecting switch I cannot find. what this wire job is. So this wire is connected between this black wire, this black and this white wire. Black is common and black to white they are thermal cutout, and this thermal cutout, this other terminal will connect somewhere here in this. If I don't know this, I cannot find this wire, what's work that. If I cannot use this, I use black is always using black is common or orange wire. And I cannot use these three wires like red, brown and this blue wire. If you like, you can use the blue wire also to increase or decrease temperature, but I don't think to do that. I open this lock and put the wire insert in the unit, then insert in the each rings and then wind front of the U and then continue the video. I open this lock and wind this unit and show into front of you and then wind into soldering iron and continue the video. Once pause.